Welcome to the show. Get ready to meet your host for the night, Arizona's very own hip historian himself, Marshall Shore.
Well, hello and welcome, everyone. I am so happy you can be here and join us for the 19th episode. Oh my gosh, we've been doing this for 19 weeks. Sharing stories, talking about Arizona and a lot of different lights, sharing so many stories. So thank you all so much for being here, because you know it wouldn't be happening without you. As well as, you know, this only really happens not just because you're out there, but because you help support this program, because you think it's fun, it's engaging, it's entertaining. You walk away likely learning more than you did when you sat down with maybe even a cocktail, which we'll get to in just a moment. But also, I do want to thank AARP also for helping us make this possible. Now, they say that the coronavirus continues to affect us all. We may be apart, but we are not alone. AARP is here in Arizona, providing information that can help you and your family. If you'd like to reach out to them, you can go to their website, which is www.aarp.org/AZ for Arizona, and see all the different programs they have online, the wide variety of just events they put on just for you. Now, tonight we have a really special show. Of course, I say that every week because they all are really super special. But this, we're going to have so much fun because we have historic preservation from the state of Arizona with my friend Kathryn is going to be our guest tonight doing trivia. We are going to talk about Little Arizona. Now, a town that a lot of you may have stopped for a date shake at on your way to San Diego. Dateland is going to be a topic we'll be hitting on tonight. As well as, you know, when you think of music in Arizona, you probably don't think of New River. But that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Now, I will ask you, if you are watching this on Facebook, if you would be so kind to hit that share button so all your friends know what fun you're having, what stories we're sharing. And, you know, and there's also going to be a moment where I had a friend send in a photo and he wants to know what it is or where is it. So we'll be showing that in just a little bit, and I actually show that twice. So that way it gives people a chance to think. Because, you know, sometimes when you get that ping of like, oh my gosh, what is that? But then suddenly the wheels, the Rolodex starts turning. Suddenly it's like, oh, I know exactly what that is. And also, if you'd like to reach out, you can do that. On the side, you have a chat box. You can also feel free to reach out to me on Facebook under Marshall Shore Hip Historian, or also follow on Instagram, which is Hip Historian, or even email, which is hello@hiphistorian. And if you are able to, I would appreciate even a few dollars, whatever. Anything helps. And that is my Venmo. It's also on the very top of the screen. So you can see that there. Now, my name is Marshall Shore. I'm also known around town as the Hip Historian. And you might wonder, how does one get a name like the Hip Historian? Well, you know, about a little over 20 years ago, I was working in a library in Brooklyn. And here's a photo. And if you take a look at that photo, you'll even see, let's see if we can make it a little bit bigger. On the ground, you've got a little bit of snow. And that exactly is the reason why I'm here. I was sick of all that and ready for a change. So we loaded up a U-Haul. that amazing orange color that lets you know that it's a U-Haul and nothing else is that orange. And promptly moved to Arizona to a lovely 1956 ranch house. Now, when we bought it, it was a sea of shades of beige, sandstone, light beige, dark beige. The trim was a different color beige. There was lots of beige going on. And I'm happy to say that is what my kitchen still looks like today. All that buttercream yellow tile all over the countertops, including the matching yellow in the wall oven. Now, if you look at that oven, you'll notice that there's something a little unique that might be different than your oven at home. That's because this one does not have a window in it. So if you want to check on how things are doing, you've got to so carefully open that. But if you let it slam shut, it's all for naught because your cake will be as flat as a pancake. You know, I did that the first time I baked a cake in that oven. You quickly learn not to do that. Now, as soon as I moved to Arizona, all I kept hearing about how there was no history. But I knew that wasn't true because every time I went somewhere, I came face to face with so many amazing stories. And that's really what prompted me to kind of walk away from libraries and really just become the hip historian and really focus on Arizona and so many unique stories. And then there's also that post-war boom that I think in a lot of ways made the Arizona that we all know and love. All those GIs that either were stationed here, trained here, or passing through on the way to somewhere else. And after the war, they were moving here in huge numbers, and in some cases looking for a house just like mine. And you know, you may have felt like this if you walked outside. Yeah, it's a little warm out there. But you know, in the shade with the fan blowing on you, it's not too bad. But you know who made it even better? This man, Dr. Carrier, the inventor of air conditioning. So we're no longer sitting in our homes exasperated. Why, in fact, I love this publicity photo they have because it turns us all into snow bunnies wearing ski hats in the middle of summer because we're so chilly and having to pay that bill for it. But yeah, I'm not wearing a sock hat because it's too hot to wear a sock hat. I also like to say thank you to the Phoenix New Times for naming me for several years running the best historian, as well as the Phoenix New Times named me the best bespectacled Phoenix celebrity because I do indeed love my eyewear. Now, you know, what is Marshall wearing? Oh, and I didn't even put my jacket on. Oh, well, I'm slouching. So you get to see my outer space shirt that I'm wearing. But, you know, I'm not wearing this, which I actually wore for an event out at Smoka, and they wanted lots of glam. So I decided to break out an old pair of football shoulder pads and cover them in shiny stuff. So I am not donning that tonight. In fact, I am wearing my Centennial suit coat that was created for me back in 2012. Because, you know, every February 14th, we have a big celebration for ourselves. And that year was 100 years of statehood. So we did all kinds of fun things around the state. And including at the state capitol, they had a big stage with lots of things going on. And one of those things happening was me. It was 15 minutes to talk about anything I wanted to. And I chose to talk about one of my most favorite events that has faded away. It was started back in 1926 by Charlotte Hall. Now, if you ever go up to Prescott, you will find her house, where also former territorial governors have lived, but it is now part of a museum, so you can go see how she lived. Now, also, the event was called Mask of the Yellow Moon. It was one of those events that was touted right up there with Mardi Gras that everybody in the country should come and see. It grew to be that large. Oh, and it was first held at the Elstree Shriners Temple, which is right down the street from the Capitol, but the event quickly outgrew that. And it moved to Montgomery Stadium, which was home to many firsts, including Arizona's very first bowl game, the Salad Bowl. And I love this cover. I mean, I love that they've decided instead of a turkey to use a football with all the Thanksgiving Day trimmings. And the Salad Bowl sure did pack them in. And what would you expect from the Salad Bowl? Why, none other than a parade with the queen of the Salad Bowl riding in her very own salad bowl. And if you look really close, you'll see she even has a spoon and fork to serve from. Now, sadly, we lost Montgomery Stadium in the late 80s. It was torn down. But the stories of it still live on. Now, the Mask of Yellow Moon was started as a springtime festival because all about how the god of sun would give his rays to make the earth golden and warm and make things grow. And it was woven through the curriculum, so pretty much every Phoenix high school got involved. And here we have the debate club doing skits. You had multiple marching bands, really large sets in the stadium, as well as dancers. Lots of young ladies. You know, we did a focus group before I did the thing for Centennial, and the women that we talked to all talked about how this was an event that was the first time they felt larger than themselves. It was an event where they all had to participate and make it happen, which it did. And so all those young ladies were wearing costumes that were designed by students and then made by the home ec class or home economics. And some of them are still around. And I was lucky enough to find a few dresses in a box. And so what we're looking at here are dresses that are from the late 30s. Now, you might be shocked to find out that I'm not a very good wallflower, that I need something to stand up to those amazing dresses. And so I called my friend Glenn. So Glenn is now in his early 90s. When he rolled in town, it was the early 50s. And he started working, he rolled in as a sign designer. And this is him getting an award from the Arizona Signage Association, basically putting him on their wall of fame. He designed a lot of signs that are still standing. Now, one that he had his hand in was the iconic on Camelback Courtesy Chevrolet building sign. Now, kind of the joke of this is if you look at it, the arrow points to value. So it points to the car lot. Now, according to Glenn, he had drawn this sign up, and it was a time where there were lots of companies doing this. And there was a company that offered a discount if you could get your sign designed. They would then build it at a discount. So Glenn said it was his design, but he did not have a hand in building it. Oh, and I see someone is asking what years the mask ran, and it ran from 26 to 1955. So it had quite a long haul. And it's funny because actually the year it stopped, the following year, students complained that they did not have the mask. They didn't have that rite of passage. And so there is the back of the jacket that Glenn airbrushed, and it was an homage to the Arizona state flag. Well, and it got me realizing, why just have one suit coat based on Arizona when I have a whole slew of them? In fact, I'm actually working on a couple right now with friends who are artists in town, so that way I can always go overdressed to any event and still be on theme, at least in my own head, if nowhere else. Now, one of the reasons I always like to start with this story is because you never know where the next piece of the story is coming from. And I did a program for the first families of Arizona. And when I was done, a woman tapped me on the shoulder. We went out to her car, And this is what she pulled out. This was her mother's dress. Now, she also had programs, so we know that this dress was worn either 1928 or 29, and it was in immaculate condition. Now, I didn't have any gloves, and I wasn't about to harm that paper, so I look forward to getting a chance to take a look at those programs and finding out exactly what number and what year this dress was worn in. And so, First Families of Arizona, you know, in order to be a member, you've got to be able to have family that was here in Arizona before statehood. And I love finding out that guests, as well as audience members, sometimes are like, hey, I can do that. They are a really great group. And if you'd like more information on them, you can go to their website or even track them down on Facebook. First Families of Arizona. Now, in this moment of COVID, you know, a lot of things have changed. I mean, I normally would be doing all kinds of events, bus tours, bingo, food tours, all kinds of things. And so right now I'm not doing that. But, you know, I've been talking to several folks about planning some virtual, some personal events, and we can do them either virtual or even a small group. So I can wear a mask. I'm more than happy to do that. You know, I just got a little microphone that I can wear inside a mask so people can still hear me, even if I'm all masked up. So reach out and let me know if you have any ideas of things you would like a group to talk about. And because it is Arizona History Happy Hour, it would not be that without a cocktail. And so I'm happy to say right now we're working with the Valley Ho to do our weekly cocktails. And so this week they came up with an herbal old fashioned. Now, one of the things I love that they've done is you can go out, and if you don't have all these ingredients, you can just go to the hotel and get them to go. And that's exactly what I did. And so, let's see. Oh, and it's even working. All right. So, you know, what I love about this is you get your cocktail. And with this one, because there's honey, they give you a really adorable little jar of honey and even a little honey dipper. As well as even a little ticket that just says, you know, thank you for making this order. The Valley Ho has been there since 1956. All right. So let's. Oh, and then also, and so this is, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. This is the first time they've done this for the to-go cocktails. So if you look on the back of the label, there's a QR code. If you click on that QR code with your iPhone or through a thing on your Droid, it will take you to a video of PJ making the cocktail. So that way you'll know exactly how he did it if you're trying to mimic him at home. So let's do that. And look at that lovely amber color of that herbal old fashioned. We'll take a little bit of honey. Just get it in there, kind of swirl it around. And then we will add some ice. And there we have our herbal, oh, there we go, old fashioned. Oh, and you know what? Every week they're so darn good. Oh my gosh. And I love the fact that they give you that little honey dipper for the honey. So it's just such a nice little touch. No. And let's take that away. And then, so my friend Chad sent in this photo of a dam. And so his question is, what dam is this? So if you know, or if you think you know, check, put it in the chat. And we'll also have another moment so that way your wheels can turn, that we'll show this picture again, and maybe we'll figure out which dam this is. So again, thank you all so much for being here. You know, we are going to take advantage of the miracle of modern technology. That's right. Back in the day, they would have had a big television set hooked up to a microphone. Now it's all condensed into maybe a wrist, maybe a cell phone, or even a laptop. No longer is it quite that big, but I am so happy to welcome my friend Kathryn. Hello.
Hey, how are you, Marshall?
I am great, and yourself?
I'm good. I'm halfway into my cocktail, so I'm very good.
Ah, very good. And it's so tasty.
It is. I didn't have all the ingredients for. Oh, well, we're getting it. Is that from you or me?
I didn't hear.
I'm getting it. I'm getting some feedback. I didn't have all the ingredients, so I did use the chamomile tea to steep my. I am not using rye. I'm using bourbon, and I did add some Demerara, I think, cherries to mine.
Oh, nice.
This is the same recipe, so I'm enjoying it.
Very cool. Well, before we go into more about you, I have something to. Well, actually, someone's going to play something for. I found the Berlin Orchestra playing Happy Birthday, and I'm like, I can't resist.
Oh, that was the Berlin Orchestra? I thought that was Lin-Manuel Miranda that was conducted, especially for me.
So, then it was very appropriate.
Okay,
so so this is your birthday week, so happy birthday.
Thank you. Today's my birthday.
It is actually today. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was or not.
Today, yes. And I spent the last 2 hours before this. I'm actually like, am I burned or something? I'm a little glowy. I've been in my my little kiddie swimming pool in my backyard with a giant inflatable avocado that my husband gave me. with a floating wine glass that some very dear friends gave me as well. So
nice. And I have a feeling that glass was not empty.
It was not empty.
Okay. Well, it probably is now.
That glass is empty and this glass is full. So having a good time. Cheers to everyone. And thank you. I see all the birthday wishes coming in.
Indeed. There's a slew of birthday wishes coming through.
Yeah.
So indeed. So happy birthday. So tell us a little about yourself. I mean, we know that. So yeah, I know.
Okay. So about myself, I'm a New Yorker. I'm from upstate. We actually don't talk like that in upstate New York. We do.
So where upstate?
Though.
Where upstate?
Albany, New York.
Oh, I didn't know you were a New Yorker.
Yep, I am a New Yorker, born and bred. I lived there until I was 21. I have spent more time. Here's a fun trivia question: more time outside of New York than inside of New York. Though I've been here in Arizona for about 25 years. So, but I do miss New York, and I think I might have some New York family that are tuning in as well. So, yeah. So shout out to New York. And yes, in Albany, New York, we do not say our L's. That's how you know someone is from Albany, is they don't say Albany or Albany. They just say Albany. So, we make good use of the glottal stop. We also say mountain. Mountain. Yeah, so it's unique. And apparently I say package funny too. That's what my son says. Package. But yeah. So about me, sorry. So I've been here 25 years. I'm currently employed as the State Historic Preservation Officer for Arizona. It is the job of a lifetime. I love it. I have no complaints. My training is in archaeology and history. Again, no complaints. My family was appalled that I picked a career choice of archaeologist for myself, and they said, you will never be employed. You will never have a job. And I say, suck it. I have the best job. So yes, I live here in Phoenix in the Willow Historic District, and I have 2 children and a husband and 2 dogs. And let's see, I'm actually really boring. I totally am an introvert, and I spend most of my time reading and knitting and like puttering around the house. Oh, and I took up accordion over COVID.
Oh, that's right. We were talking about that. So that comes to play later on when we talk about New River. So
yeah. And I'm gonna list accordion as an official hobby. Oh yeah, my friend Heather says New York rules. I've known Heather since I was 15 years old. So yes, I do have New Yorkers on here as well. So yeah. I don't know. Anything else about me?
So no. So we'll go on and do a little bit of trivia. So when we do trivia here, it's not your standard like bar trivia where we really care more about the whole idea of what we're learning, as opposed to in a bar where we just kind of randomly go through these questions and how many did you get right, how many did you get wrong. Here, what will happen is we'll take a little bit of a break, and we will then come back and talk about those answers and why that's the answer. So you are welcome to keep track of it here, either in the chat. You can also do it on a pad of paper next to you, whatever you feel comfortable doing. You go right ahead and do it that way.
Heck, yes, and there are no winners or losers in preservation. Actually, that's not true.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, we can mention even some recent losers, but oh well.
Let me know if you're a loser. So yeah, and I have to give credit. So Marshall asked me to prepare these questions, and I did make them all sort of preservation oriented. So they're not just straight up history. You should, for those of you interested in historic preservation, there should be some takeaways here and some teachable moments. And I have to give credit to Eric Vondi in my office because he is Mr. Trivia. He's like the most fascinating man in the room kind of person. And he is able to pick just weird stuff. And so he helped me prepare a lot of these questions. And so, yeah, there's my shout out. My shout out to my awesome staff at the State Historic Preservation Office, the best staff ever.
Very good. All right. So if everyone's ready, question number 1, which of these properties was not, I repeat, not among the first 3 Arizona properties listed in the National Register of Historic Places back in 1966? A, Tucumcari Mission, B, Yuma Crossing, C, Pipe Springs, or C, Ventana Cave? Which of those properties was not among the first 3 to be listed on the National Register from Arizona?
I'm loving watching these answers coming in, and I'm loving some of that. So I'm seeing Michelle. Michelle's awesome.
Oh, no, she is. I mean, yeah, no, I adore Michelle.
And then Omo's on here, my friend Omo, who's actually my husband's friend from way back. This is great. This is the best birthday thing.
See, aren't you so glad you said you were, because you're like, oh, should I do my birthday, should I not? And you're like, I'm going to do it. So that way.
Having a real life right now and like out with people. No, right. I can't do that. No, I really
have people from across the country say happy birthday.
This is it. Okay.
All right. So question 2. The 1961 National Historic Landmark designation for Tombstone cities, the following historical association as its primary significance. So what was the primary significance of the
So in other words, Tombstone is a National Historic Landmark. If you were to look at the landmark documentation, why is Tombstone important?
That's right. Is it A, the gunfight at the OK Corral, which is super famous? Even Hollywood made a movie about it. B, silver mine. C, Wild West tourism. Or D, location of the world's largest rose tree.
And my friend Gavin just told me that I was his best archaeology teaching assistant ever. Yeah, I was a pretty good archaeologist when I was an archaeologist. I'm a horrible historian though. I'm the worst historian. I am both, but history is really much.
And I love knowing connections. I didn't even know you knew Gavin.
Oh,
I met Gavin actually sitting in some friend's backyard around a fire pit.
Archaeologist before he was what is it? Paleontologist? Is that what you are? Yeah, Gavin's a paleontologist now. Crazy.
I mean, I love how all these circles interconnect. All right, question 3. Which famed science fiction writer's house is located in Phoenix and was listed on the National Register in 2009?
Okay, this is a slam dunk for Phoenicians. This is my...
I agree, but so could it be A, Isaac Asimov, B, Robert Heinlein, C, Heinlein, C, Ray Bradbury, or D, L. Ron Hubbard? And we'll see a lot of, I'm sure, a certain letter come across the screen. And question 4. The National Historic Preservation Act of 1966 created the position of State Historic Preservation Officer, who performed all of the following except... Oh, so this is back when your job first started. What did it not do? A, develop state historic preservation plans. B, administer the National Register review process. C, work with federal agencies to review project impacts to archaeological and historic resources. Or D, conduct design review in historic districts. All right, so that sounds like a good story, which we'll hear about in just a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like I gotta see a lot of D's on there. People are really thinking the D.
Well, I mean, we'll find out.
With a B. Okay, all right. Oh, hey, so because Keely's poking in on here, this is my PSA that we're all gonna vote, right? November. Keely, give me the date. Was it the 9th? When do we vote? Keely is the deputy county recorder, and she does an awesome job of setting up the elections for us in Maricopa County, which is the largest county running elections in the entire country. And something like, I can't remember the exact figure, but during the primary, the turnout at the elections was something like 1.5 times the record turnout. Whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was amazing.
November 3rd. Michelle's telling me November 3rd. Vote.
Oh, and of course, Michelle would chime in knowing the date. Go, Michelle. All right.
Sorry, I'm just taking over your show with all my PSAs.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, that's half the fun. I mean,
I'm enjoying my cocktail, Marshall.
Good. All right. So we're at the halfway point. So here we are.
Michelle. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So initial efforts to list the Senator O'Connor house on the National Register did not succeed because A, Justice O'Connor is still alive. B, the house has changed too much. C, the house was moved. Or D, the house was not old enough. I know, Michelle, I was actually thinking the same thing. I'm like, maybe that's like an early November thing right after the election. Wheels are already turning. I was like, Keely, expect an email from me.
Oh, yeah. And you could do all kinds of voting trivia and legislative trivia because, Keely was years in the legislature, like decades, really.
So, yeah. So, no, I think that would be a lot of fun. But I'll let her get through the election first.
Okay.
And then hound her. All right. So, question 6. What community television star's father was an archaeologist and director of the Museum of Northern Arizona from 1959 to 1975? A, Tony Danza. B, Kelsey Grammer. C, Ted Danson. Or D, John Stamos? Which one of those celebrities Oh, Keely.
I wrote this question. This wasn't Eric. This was me. And okay, I see my professor Lucy Johnson from Vassar College on, and she is amazing. And I much love to you, Lucy. So, and she says,
oh, I didn't know you were a Vassar. Oh, one of my best friends went to Vassar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a librarian I used to work with back in New York. So, indeed. All right, question 7. In Arizona, buildings listed on the National Register are rezoned to historic status. B, are eligible for property tax reduction. C, are subject to review by SHPO prior to substantial renovation. Or D, cannot be demolished. So what does getting listed on the National Register actually mean? Oh my gosh.
You'd be surprised. That's a hard question.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah, no. And that's why, I mean, I love the fact that it's going to be so much educational in just a few minutes. Oh, and Sadie Joe is here as well. Look at that. We're just banging them in. Sweet. All right. Question 8. This place where Tom Mix died and Winnie Ruth Judd was tried for murder became Arizona's first certified local government on September. Oh, that's the day before my birthday. September 12th. Well, 1985. That's not my birth year, but oh well. A, Florence. B, Tucson. C, Phoenix. Or D, Prescott. All right, moving on. 2 more questions to go. The most recent tribe to become certified as a tribal historic preservation office was A, the Navajo tribe, B, the Hopi tribe, C, Colorado River tribe, or D, the Pascua?
Yaqui.
All right. So we're down to 1 question. All right. And here we go as people are tallying in their votes. Which noted Arizona housing developer got his start building barracks for the U.S. government internment camp of Japanese Americans at Poston, Arizona? A, Del Webb. B, John F. Long. C, Ralph Staggs. Or D, John Hall? Which one of those developers built barracks for Poston internment camp? See, and I think this is a great question as well, because so many people, I mean, that's the fun of this. I mean, that's one thing I love doing this, because it's like I learn, everybody learns. And so, oh, and see, look at Michelle. She's changing her answer. Oh, Michelle, you know, just go with it. All right. So now before we launch into the answers, we're going to take a little Arizona music break and get a chance to talk about a different side of Arizona than what a lot of people know. And so when you think of New River, you may not think of music. You probably think Outlet Mall. And, you know, you would be right, but there's so much more to the story. In fact, we have Jerry Jacka. So he was actually known as a photographer. Him and his family actually homesteaded the Sunup Ranch up in New River around 1930. Now, because of that time, they were able to decorate their property with all kinds of things they would find in the desert. Rocks with petroglyphs on them, metates, things like that. So he quickly became kind of a collector of all of that stuff. Now, he was also an amateur archaeologist, and his family was originally from Bohemia. And so it's not shocking that he went on to play the accordion, but he developed this penchant for photographing. And so he always had his camera with him, and he actually did quite a number of photos for Arizona highways. And this is one that is up on Wallapai of the first Mesa. And this was back in 1980 for Arizona Highways. And it was because of his relationship with the Hopi people, he was actually able to ask the village chief, who said, yeah, go take a photo, but he couldn't even bring a tripod. He had to basically steady his camera on his car door to be able to get this amazing photo. Now, because of his background, it's not shocking he did indeed pick up the accordion. And I'm going to actually, because I have a feeling this is so obscure that I don't think anyone on Facebook or other...
Now the poor little ladies promenade inside that big old ring. In a do-sa-do, your own right there. The gents start right around the ring. Now seesaw your partner, boys, go all the way around. Then Alaman lift your corner, grand old ride and a lift around. They call me poor boy, poor boy, poor boy. And then a do-sa-do, that promenade go 2-by-2. 'Cause I could never be a poor boy if I could swing with a dolly like you. Hit.
So I love that he had a trio and they did a variety of recordings, including several square dance records. So now he passed away, but you know, elements of his ranch still are up in New River, just behind the outlet mall. Who knew? So much history.
Jerry Jacka is was, I should say, absolutely one of my favorite people in Arizona. And I'm so glad you are able to feature him as the featured musician. And he was a musician, but he is so much more. I mean, the man did everything. And he came from a family that did everything. His family is the essence of hardscrabble Arizona, homesteading in the desert, raising Gila monsters.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the Gila monster.
His father invented the Gila Monster Derby, which was like the Maricopa County Gila Monster Derby. And they used to, I mean, you could never do that nowadays. But, I mean, they would trap Gila monsters in the desert and race them for fun. And I think his father was the sheriff of Maricopa County at some time, or a sheriff deputy. He worked at Luke Air Force Base during the war. And Jerry was just an amazing preservationist. And, he made heritage preservation key to everything that he did in his career. His photographs are amazing. And little plug here, Preserve Phoenix, which is one of the more recent non-for-profits that's developed, has been talking with Jerry's family about how to preserve the Sunup Ranch and make it a sort of public destination for folks. And it is truly, Sunup Ranch it just has this very special place in my heart, as does Jerry.
Well, see, and this Arizona music bit is kind of self-serving because the MIM is celebrating their 10th anniversary this year. And we were planning something in the spring that have obviously got canceled. And so we're now looking to do something in November. So this is really a way for me to kind of delve in and find people that most people have not heard of. And so I'm so thrilled that I'll be able to include him when I do this presentation at MIM. So, all right. So who's ready for some answers?
And hey, we got the monsoon, folks. On my birthday.
I know. I was like, I'm like, oh God, I hope it's not just another dust storm.
It's happening right now.
Wow. That is great. They're actually getting some rain. Oh my gosh. So needed. All right. So let's get ready for some answers. All right. So which of these properties was not included?
Sorry, guys. It was not Yuma Crossing. And it is really confusing to folks about the National Register. So the deal with the National Register is it comes along in 1966, but we had landmarks before that. And we also, before we had landmarks, we had national monuments. National monuments came along 1905 with the Antiquities Act. And so we had Tumacacori as a national monument and Pipe Spring as a national monument. Then you had landmarks coming around with the, I always forget the name of this act. It's the the National Historic Sites Act or something like that. And that's in the 1930s. You get, at that point in time, Ventana Cave coming in as a National Historic Landmark and the Quartermaster Depot at Yuma Crossing coming in. All of them get kind of grandfathered into the National Register, but the first ones to do so were Tumacacre, Pipe Spring, and Ventana Cave. Yuma Crossing came in about 6 months later.
Ah. All right. So question 2. 1961 National Historic Landmark designation for Tombstone. Basically, was its primary significance was
silver mining. People forget that about Tombstone. It was a mining town. It really wasn't all that interesting, to be quite honest. It was just your hard-scrabble generic mining town. And there happened to be this fight at the OK Corral. Oh, and I didn't put the picture in there, but the OK Corral burned down. Tombstone had 2 major fires in the 19th century. And that OK Corral that you see today, it's not the OK Corral. It's in the same location, but it is not. Tombstone is really interesting because it is pretty much a facsimile town. Many of those storefronts that you see as you walk down, not Fremont Street, the other one. What's the other one? Someone help me out here. Allen Street, thank you. Allen Street. Those are all rebuilds. And you'll look at, they'll have dates on them. People will be like, well, it says 1882 on it. Well, yeah, it says that, but it was built in, 1970 or 1960. And so, yeah, Tombstone is interesting and it draws significance for its tourism. And we've often thought about doing an amendment to the National Historic Landmark nomination that really focuses on the tourism aspect of Tombstone, because that's what it's really well known for. It's the vision of the Wild West. Right. But that is not why it's listed.
Or even that Hollywood recreation of
you
what
mean like
the Wild West was.
That is awesome, and they do have Tombstone Days. It's not, it's not El Dorado Days. It's like literally Tombstone Days, or maybe it is El Dorado. But they recreate the gunfight at the OK Corral, but they don't recreate it historically. They recreate the movie version of it,
right?
Which is amazing. It's very meta.
Right. I mean, I always think it's so interesting that Tombstone is kind of the town that Hollywood built, not the town that history built.
Yeah, or as Al says, the town too tough to die. Yes, that is its slogan. And Sarah asked me, what's my favorite mining town in Arizona? Well, gosh, my favorite mining town in Arizona, I mean, there's a little something special for me with Bisbee, I have to say.
See, that would have been my vote as well. I would have to say Bisbee, just because I love the fact that it's like a destination to nowhere. I mean, it's like you're going to Bisbee.
And also it's your own personal memories. I spent some time down there with my family when my kids were young, and we did the Queen Mine tour.
Oh my God, that is so fun with a cranky miner and everything. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. No worries. I mean, that's half the fun of this is not, I mean, the stories that come out of this are not just the answers. So that's kind of the fun. All right. So question 3. Which famed science fiction writer's house located in Phoenix was listed on the register in 2009? Indeed, L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, so the Phoenicians are all over this because it's such a quirky, wacky, I mean, come on, right? But the out-of-towners might be a little surprised, like what was L. Ron Hubbard doing in Phoenix? And yeah, L. Ron Hubbard was like kind of hiding out in Phoenix. He hid out in Phoenix for like, I don't know, it wasn't very long. It was like maybe like 3 or 4 years. But during that time, he was writing Dianetics, which became the foundation for Scientology. Even more significant, he was conducting some of the inaugural lectures on Scientology at the Phoenix Little Theater, which is like a very little known fact that people.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, at McDowell and Central, he had rented. No one would give him space because it was looked at as wacky, kooky religious stuff, and no one wanted to give him that space. But the art people, poor art people, were like, yeah, if you're going to pay us money, you can come here and give lectures. But that's where his inaugural lectures in Scientology and Dianetics were at the Phoenix Little Theater. So is
I
important.
had no idea, because I knew about the whole Spielberg connect with Finks Little Theater, but I didn't know. Wow.
Yeah. And if you go to the house over on 44th Street, Camelback, is it 44th? Yeah, it's 44th, I think. They have a museum there. It is the best restored house, and I use that word in a preservation sense, restored house, I would say, in Arizona. The Scientologists have restored the L. Ron Hubbard house impeccably, like absolutely
Right.
impeccably. And it's dedicated as a house museum to L. Ron Hubbard, and so you can actually learn a lot about L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology, but don't sit in his chair. There's a chair that you can study. I was very pregnant when we were putting this on the National Register. Or no, I wasn't, because I got it in 2008. I was just fat. And I tried to take a seat, and I was admonished by my Scientology warden that you cannot sit in L. Ron's chair. It's like a sacrilege, and I did it.
Uh-oh.
Don't sit in the chair.
Well, I heard they had like textiles, like couch coverings, like completely rewoven to look just like they did. Yes, they actually,
fabric mills to redo upholsteries. I mean, no expense spared. No expense spared in this restoration. And actually, the folks at the L. Ron Hubbard House, they're very generous with their knowledge, and they've been really active participants in our preservation conference over the last several years. So they take preservation very seriously. They have a preservation department in Scientology. And it's really important to them, and they've listed other properties subsequent to this property. Yeah.
Well, and I have to say, I love the fact that all these folks in the Valley are chiming in with, "We have rain, we have rain."
Oh yeah, Eric told me I was pregnant. It was listed in 2009, but we were doing all of the research, yes, when I was very pregnant. Thank you, Eric. I wasn't just fat and lazy. I was.
That is so funny. That is indeed the king of trivia.
Because it's a steel trap.
Yeah, exactly. All right, question 3. The National Historic Preservation Act of 1966 created the position of state historic preservation officers, who performed all of the following except conduct design review in historic districts.
Yes, this is a super misnomer. People are very nervous about the National Register. They think that the government is coming for them. The reality about the National Register is that unless you're a federal agency, we ain't got nothing to do with you folks. No, that's not true. We do administer a very nice tax incentive program here in Arizona, which if you are on the National Register and your house possesses integrity, you participate in that program. That's approximately 50% on your taxes. But what we don't do is we don't tell you what you can and cannot do with your house. We don't review the work that you do, generally speaking. We ask that you do work to keep it in current, that's appropriate work, to keep it in current eligibility status. And so if you're in that tax program, we will ask you to consult with us. But it is a voluntary program. It's just honorific designation. And we do all those other things too.
All right. So initial efforts to list the Senator O'Connor house in the National Register did not succeed because...
Oh, it was moved. It's a moved property, which is very hard to list a moved property on the National Register. And in DC at the National Park Service told us, no way, no how. It's a moved property. I'm sorry. And I'm like, yeah, but what if the actual person of significance moves the property? Wouldn't that clearly, I mean, the argument is when you move a property, it destroys its association. I think if a person moves the property, then it's pretty associative. And that picture that I'm showing there on the left is Justice O'Connor, who is doing an Adobe, doing a lime wash on the Adobe block of her house. So yes, Justice O'Connor was very much involved in the move of her residence, which was the residence that she lived in when she was named, or excuse me, appointed Supreme Court Justice by Ronald Reagan. there's great stories that come out of this house, and everyone that works in Arizona politics knows these stories about how Justice O'Connor, when she was in the Senate, was extremely involved in bringing bipartisan discussion to the table. Literally, she would cook these big dinner parties.
Right, exactly. Right, these big barbecues and things, and so people were now suddenly talking not across the aisle, but across plates.
Yes, exactly. And that was her firm belief that if you shared a meal together, you couldn't, you would have this instant respect, that it would bridge all ideological divide. And so when I first became SHPO, I was told, no way we can get that house moved. Justice O'Connor's still alive, doing a B nomination, which is a nomination associated with a well-known person. It's almost impossible when they're alive. It won't be done. It won't be done. And this woman, it was her dream to have this house listed. She donated it to a foundation, and the house is used to actually create this civic dialogue. And I was like, Arizona's huge claim to fame, first woman Supreme Court justice, we're getting this house on the register, and I don't care, and it's going to happen. And I have to say, my staff is amazing. My staff wrote the nomination, and we had the support of the city of Tempe and the former mayor, and Hugh Hallman, and we got it done, and I'm so super proud. And the justice was so pleased. It's a huge accomplishment for my office, and I love this house. And those of you who have visited know that it's amazing. So why did she move it? Well, she was done with Sarah in Tucson's asking me this. She was done with the house. Right? She was elder, and she was moving into an assisted living facility and was putting the house on the market. The original location of the house was Paradise Valley, beautiful views. The house is quite small. It is not a huge house. It is a high architectural design. The guy who designed it, I think it's Knight is his name. I always forget. It's kind of a one-off, but he was frankly, right. We were never able to document that, but it's very Wrightian. It's very high design, very small. So the lot was big. So you know what that means here in Phoenix, right? Small house, big lot.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah.
Yeah.
Putting it in the market, it was going to be scraped. And especially with the views in Paradise Valley. So she donated it. Right now it is located in Papago Park on the grounds of the Arizona Historical Society. It's a perfect spot. You've got the house on parcel, and it's great. I recommend everybody make an appointment to take a tour.
Yeah, it's so worth it to see. And well, I love the fact that it's a modern adobe.
Yes, it's adobe construction. It's got beautiful views, and the house in its new location was oriented to sort of kind of try to capture the same views that existed in its location in Paradise Valley. So it's still in a beautiful location with beautiful views.
It is. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
All right. So question 6, what comedic television star's father was director of the Museum of Northern Arizona from 59 to 75? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this is Edward Danson standing next to his son, Ted Danson. Edward Danson, very well known in archaeological circles, famous, you may say. He's an archaeologist, but also a longtime director of the Museum of Northern Arizona. And Ted Danson is also a huge champion. He's very quiet. He doesn't make it very public, but I just know incidentally of several projects that he has supported, and he is a big supporter, I believe, of the Archaeological Conservancy as well. So archaeology is in Ted Danson's blood. So when you guys are watching, what's that show everyone's wanting me to watch? The Good Place? Is that it? Is that The Good Place? So when you're watching The Good Place, know that you are someone who is a supporter of historic preservation.
Okay. I didn't really see. I haven't seen it yet, so I didn't even know he was on it. So I've been hearing about people saying you should watch this.
Yeah, I've watched. I think the first season was very good, but yeah, I think that's just a wonderful connection. I'm trying to think of other famous archaeology connections. I did do I taught at a field school in Mexico one summer with a professor at Albion College named Elizabeth Broomfield. And those of you guys who are archaeologists on here will know Liz Broomfield. She was one of the first, I would say, sort of feminist archaeologists. She did a lot of work looking at gender in archaeology. And her research was at post-classic Mesoamerican sites like Aztec. And so I worked with her in this little town called Hist-O-Cam in Mexico. And where was I going with this? Oh, she grew up next to Harrison Ford, who, as you know, is Indiana Jones. And so I find that very interesting that, and she was friends with him at the time too. She's passed away, unfortunately, several years back, but there is like an actual like archaeology connection to Harrison Ford. So he understands archaeology and is friends with archaeologists, and then plays one on TV. So interesting.
Oh,
and yes,
cool.
Solo too.
Okay, yes, I didn't realize that other connection to him and preservation. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, so Harrison Ford has a preservation connection as well.
All right, question 7. In Arizona, buildings listed in the National Register are eligible for property tax reduction.
Yes. So this is similar to the other question. When a building is listed in the National Register, it does not get rezoned. So it does not prompt design review. We don't review changes to the building. And unfortunately, it can be demolished. The pictures that I'm showing here are pictures of the Steiniger lodging house, which for those of you in Phoenix who are interested in preservation, you know all too well. This was very painful. This is Phoenix's oldest documented building. So this is a 19th century building, very rare here in Phoenix. Not too keen on the eyes, as you can see from the top photo, but certainly a vintage. And it went under the wrecking ball last month. And my office,
there were a whole crowd of us down there watching the wrecking ball hit.
Okay. I got my office got many calls. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Oh, we can't do anything about it, guys.
Right.
What we can do is we can incentivize folks to preserve these buildings. Our chief incentive here is a federal program, which is a tax credit program. So for developers who want to rehabilitate an old building, in fact, you can see right next door to it, one of our most, I would say, largest tax credit projects, the Phoenix Garden Inn, otherwise known as the Professional Building, which was a bank building. The Hilton Hotel right now, that was a $6 million tax credit that was taken on that building to build it. And it was rehabilitated. But unfortunately, there was no interest in doing a similar project for the poor little Steiniger next door.
Right.
So, unless people come to us and want to do these projects, we really don't have a role after we've designated it.
Right. And if people have not been to the Hilton Garden Inn, it's well worth going into. That lobby is spectacular.
Oh, spectacular. It really is.
Yeah. All right. Question 8. This place where Tom Mix died and Winnie Ruth Judd was tried for murder became Arizona's first certified local government in 1985. And what city in Arizona was it?
It's Florence. Florence is like the underdog in historic preservation. Everyone forgets about Florence, but the reality is Florence was the first city to become a CLG. Florence holds the title of applying for the most Heritage Fund grants to do preservation projects. Florence is like totally really preservation forward. But yeah, it was Florence. They were the first certified local government. And for those of you who don't know, certified local governments are local governments that have the ability to act like a little mini SHPO. They put things on local registers. They do design review and designations. And they receive some money out of our budget. We pass through to them so that they can do some of this work. But yep, the answer is Florence. And I saw that Keely weighed in very early in on that because I know she is a Winnie Ruth Judd nut.
Indeed, she is.
Every trivia thing about Winnie Ruth Judd, and she and I are equally obsessed with Miss Judd. So,
So, and I also love, it's like there's the driving tour that you can download of Florence. So you can drive around different sites and hear these almost historical reenactments of what went on in those buildings, which is kind of cool.
In Florence?
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, no, it's really cool.
I spent enough time in Florence. I'll be honest, like it's just off the beaten path. And you
it is.
Unless you're visiting some relative who's taken a wrong turn somewhere.
But during rush hour, I find that I would rather go through the whole Florence back road to get to Tucson than fight rush hour, because it takes a little bit longer. But it's like, it's such a more pleasant drive. You got to stay and stop and say hi to Tom Mix.
I actually was it's preservation related. I was at Modern Phoenix Week over at the Scottsdale Community College campus, and I had to for work go to Oracle State Park, like straight from that event. And I took the back road because that was actually, as the crow flies, it was the fastest way to go. And yeah, I highly recommend that. Go into Tucson, the back road on 77. I think it's 77.
It's so worth it.
And it's
such a relaxing drive.
It's relaxing. You don't have the trucks on the I-10. You go right through Florence. I don't know if you go through Coolidge. You don't go through Coolidge, do you?
No, you don't do no.
No, Florence. See some really pretty desert, and then you hit Tucson by way of Oracle, and Oracle's amazing. So
I haven't said anything yet, but I'm actually talking to a TV show called The Dead Files. And about working with them for an episode that actually has a Florence connection.
Okay.
So, we were supposed to do it a couple weeks ago, but because of COVID, that got delayed.
So can I send all these crazy cockamamie television show people that call me with their, like, we have this idea, like, we're going to go.
Oh, please do.
Okay, I'm serious.
Especially right now, because it's like, what else am I doing?
Okay, they're all yours, Marshall. I'm giving them to you.
All right.
The Dead Files can go to you.
All right. Question 9. The most recent tribe to become certified as a tribal historic preservation office.
Okay, so I know a lot of people weighed in on Pascua Yaqui because, again, you think, hey, they're small, they're the underdog, they're late to the game. Yeah, they're pretty recent in terms of TIPO, but it's actually Hopi. So Hopi has had a very robust cultural resources program for years and years and years, one of the first ones out there, and they never became a TIPO until last year, 2019. They basically surprised everyone with, hey, it's about time that we become an official tribal historic preservation office, registering with the National Park Service. And what that allows them to do is to basically take over my function on reservation land. So for any federal undertaking that occurs on Hopi land or that involves Hopi land, it doesn't go to me. It goes to the Tribal Historic Preservation Officer. It also allows them to get some funding from the Historic Preservation Fund, the same way my office gets their funding. They get funding from the Historic Preservation Fund as well. And yes, all these other tribes are also Tribal Historic Preservation Offices.
Okay, good. That was my question, because I was like, I can't imagine the Yaqui or not.
Yeah, the Yaqui are pretty recent. The Yaqui were about 4 months before Hopi. This is just a great, this is a shout out to the Flynn Foundation and the Flynn Brown Leadership Program, which I know Heather's on here, who just recently became a Flynn Brown Fellow. And I think I saw Dana Kennedy on here as well. In my cohort, happened to be the Attorney General for the tribe was in my Flynn Brown cohort, and we were working on a project together, and we started talking, and he's like, tell me more about this Tribal Historic Preservation Office thing. And so we talked about it, and then he called me afterwards. He's like, I think we really want to do it. I've talked to the tribal chairman, and I think we want this to happen. And so we had some meetings. Our office helped them with their application. They hired an archaeologist, and it was very grassroots, and their archaeologist is super proactive. They're doing a lot of planning right now. They're very small. So the good thing about being really small is they can get a good handle on everything that they have. But they're also engaging on a whole lot of projects in the Tucson area, also on the border wall project as well, which is a little dicey. But also importantly, there is a sort of an outpost of Yaqui in the town of Guadalupe here in the Phoenix metro area.
Right.
So that's a community of culturally Yaqui folk that live there. And there's quite a bit of built environment resources there. Nice church and churchyard. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some National Register designations happen in Guadalupe as a result of Pascua Yaqui being TIPO.
Ah, nice. Good. I mean, when I used to work for the county, we just loved going to Guadalupe. And so
yeah, we used to I don't know if I don't live in the East Valley anymore, but there was like this wonderful farmers market there that I used to go to when I was in grad school. And
Right.
then it's like cool Mexican restaurant there that we would
Right.
go to.
Indeed.
It's been a while since I've been out there. And then I saw the dances there. They would do the Yaqui dances. They're closed now, so you can't go see the dances. But it used to be that you could actually see their Easter dance that they would do, and it was pretty phenomenal.
And I remember being there when Laura Bush showed up to read books to kids.
Oh wow!
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Keely says that there is actually a voting center in Guadalupe.
Yay! All right, Keely.
There's long lines in other places if you want to avoid those ASU kids, those rowdy ASU kids. Head south to Guadalupe.
All right. And question 10. And our final question. Which Noda, Arizona housing developer got his start building barracks for the U.S. government internment of Japanese Americans at Poston? Indeed, it is Del Webb.
Yeah, Del Webb. Sorry, I spaced there. I was looking at Gavin asking me about the border wall. I'm not talking. There's no laws. It's lawless at the border. Okay. Yes, Del Webb, right? Mr. Sun City. And actually that little picture there in the bottom is, that's the Sun City model house that is listed in the National Register of Historic Places as the nod to Sun City.
Now, is that the one that's a museum?
It's a museum.
Oh my God. I love that house. Oh,
I've never been there.
We should go together sometime. It's so much fun.
Sun City? Okay.
Yeah.
Can we take a golf cart?
Well, actually, right outside the museum, they have his and hers matching 1960s golf cars, which are amazing. I mean, I love you walk inside and half the living room is carpeted, because don't go on the carpet because it looks like that's where grandma would be. They only want you to walk on the tiled portion.
Do they have plastic coverings on the couch?
Sadly, they don't. They really should. I'm assuming they took them off because they're probably so yellowed with nicotine that they needed to. But
this is a little known fact. So Del Webb, that created the model of the retirement community in the entire United States, Sun City, actually cut his chops during World War II, creating essentially military barrack-style housing for Japanese American citizens who were interred at the internment center in Poston, which is up on the Colorado River Indian Reservation. Now, I know a lot about this because I actually did my master's thesis in history on this, because what is interesting about Poston, and then also rivers on the Gila River Indian Reservation, is that these were internment camps that were run by the Office of Indian Affairs on reservations. And everyone asks, well, why did that occur? And it's because John Collier, who was the head of the OIA at the time, saw an opportunity where his budgets were so small running the Office of Indian Affairs, and he had these big dreams. At Poston on the Colorado River Indian Reservation, he had a dream of creating like a paradise in the desert, where you would be right near the Colorado River, and there would be aqueducts and canals coming off the river, and he would have Indians farming the land and growing their own food, and it would be all fine and dandy on this reservation. But hey, he needed some free labor to essentially build this entire infrastructure. And when the war came and Japanese internment became a reality, he said, aha, here's my free labor. I got these Japanese people I'm going to put them here on the reservation. They'll live here for a while. When we're done with this whole war thing, we'll take them out. We'll have some infrastructure that we can move, our tribal folks in, and it'll all be well and good. Well, the Japanese get there, and the Japanese are like, it's freaking hot. These people are from San Francisco, right? California, and they're out in the middle of the desert. Some of them are from Arizona as well. And it sucks. It's like the worst thing ever. And, their civil rights have been completely tread upon. They're in the middle of the desert, and they're being told, hey, guess what? You get to dig a canal. So you know what? They're like, no, we're not digging canals. We're not doing that. This is a bad idea. This whole thing is a bad idea. And by the way, where are my civil rights? So it didn't happen. What happened was beautiful little house gardens and beautiful topiary and beautiful just art projects in landscape. But the canals and the infrastructure that never happened. And after the war, John Collier created essentially what is now the modern Colorado River Indian tribes by moving Hopi and Navajo onto the reservation there to join the Mojave and the Quechan, who were already there, and the Kokopah. So that's the modern Colorado River Indian tribes. And they have a debt to the Japanese in the sense that some of their infrastructure that is still there was built during Japanese American internment. There was a school that continued to be used by the reservation afterwards, and several other, facilities, buildings. And you can still see them at Poston. If you go up to Poston, you can drive by, you can see the remains of the school. The barracks are gone. There is one in town in Parker. So you can, it was behind a Dairy Queen at one point. I don't know if it's still there. And there's rumors of another one that was floating around down in the Phoenix metro area, but I don't know where that is.
Yeah, I know Chandler has actually done several different exhibitions on the internment camps.
Mm-hmm. There was another one at Rivers on the on the Gila River Indian community. I've never been out to see that one. It's mostly concrete pads, but I've talked to some folks that grew up on the reservation that are my age, and they're like, yeah, it was really cool. We used to go out there to roller skate because there was no place, you're growing up on a reservation, it's all dirt. It sucks for roller skating. And in the 70s and 80s, roller skating was everyone wanted to roller skate, and there was no place to roller skate on the reservation, but they would go out there and the concrete pads were still there and they could roller skate.
So and then Preston brings up the housing behind what was Paisley Violin, which was Third Space, which basically...
Yeah, I don't know where that's from. It is worker housing, but someone said those were the Japanese American internment.
Well, that's how it was billed, and it's actually not. It was and I forget it was officer housing, but it was never.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it was, and I don't know where it is now. I think some of them got incorporated into the Third Space, and then some of them got sold off. I don't know.
So yeah, but I love that fact that little bit of history just kind of hangs around on Grand, and especially because that would have been the dividing line.
Yeah, Grand was the dividing line, actually. US 60 was the dividing line.
Yes, right. Which happened to be Grand at that point.
If you lived north of the US 60, you had to go into internment. If you lived south of the US 60 and you happened to be Japanese, you're okay. You could stay where you were. I don't understand it, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a complete artificial line. And I've heard a story about how there was an Anglo family that swapped housing with a Japanese family, so they were on the other side of Grand, so they didn't have to go. But I've not been able to confirm that.
Huh.
So don't know if it's true or not, but
yep. History's full of all kinds of weirdness, right?
Oh, indeed. And that's, and Arizona even more so, I think, than a lot of other places, because we have so much history that has just been ignored for so long. That's the fun of it, is there's so many crazy stories out there.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this Nick says you can get ice cream in those little houses. It's true. There is a good ice cream place.
There is. Novel is great for ice cream.
Okay.
So actually, I was down there this weekend. I was wearing my mask, and down on Grand on Saturday nights, you have all the lowriders.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, and so it was really cool. So yeah, I mean, it was like I went for ice cream, and it's like, oh look, the lowriders are back.
Oh, so Preston, who I don't know, who seems like he knows a lot about history. He said, I believe Gallup told the government no and was a sanctuary city for Japanese Americans. That is not what I heard. I heard Gallup actually had a prisoner of war camp outside of Gallup, which is different than the
internment camps, right?
Yeah. Phoenix had Papico Park also had a prisoner of war camp as well.
Right. I mean, because we had the famous German prisoner of war camp.
Yeah.
So where the big escape happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so. Oh, see, and Gloria got 7 out of 10. So yeah, so usually people don't do this well on trivia. Usually it's like, oh, I got 3 out of 10. Yeah. So I mean,
did I make them too easy then? Oh, Megan, I love Megan's on here. Megan is my daughter's violin teacher, and she's brilliant. She's a brilliant violinist. She apparently knows Preston. She says he's a baller.
Oh, Preston is great.
And he plays guitar.
Yeah, I mean, him and Yvonne are a great couple. So yeah, so love hanging out with them.
It's a very small world. It's a very
small world. I mean, it's like I always say it's 3 degrees separation because there's that standard 6 degrees separation. But I think here in Arizona it's more like 3 because it's like everybody seems to know everybody.
Yeah, it does. We are a small, big city. And as Jim McPherson told me, I think he texted me, he's like, we were up against Joe Biden accepting the nomination, the Democratic nomination.
Oh, I know. I got lots of people saying I'm not going to attend because I'm going to go watch that. And I'm like, I already know what's going to happen. I know who I'm voting for, so I don't need to watch anything.
I embarrassed myself publicly on the internet this week by puzzling over that guy that looks to me like, what did I say, a flamboyant Dracula, but I can't remember his name. And everyone's like, you don't know who he is? That guy, that was dancing with Stephen Stills. I apparently am really not up on my pop culture, but I got
I'm shocked.
Yeah, but anyway.
Well, thank you so much for spending your birthday with us.
This was really fun. This was a really good way to spend a COVID birthday. There's Billy Porter. Thank you, Eric. I still don't know. I gotta do some.
Oh my God. Yeah, Billy Porter.
I don't know.
Gee. Oh yeah. You've not watched Pose?
No, I know. And my cousin in New York is.
Pat, I'm so disappointed in you. I mean, it's making history fun. I mean, there was a local bar here.
I got like 8 seasons of 90 Day Fiance I got to get through before I get into it. So,
I mean, there was a bar in Central Phoenix that actually was doing a Pose night, and what I loved was the crowd that would show up for Pose night was cross-generational.
Okay, yeah, I don't. Yeah,
I mean, it was like you had young people who were there learning about history, not realizing they were learning about history. They were there because they wanted to see this great show.
Yeah, I don't know what Pose is.
So basically, Pose is about the dance balls that would happen up in Harlem.
Oh, okay. So it's a historical piece.
It's very historical. I mean, it's really the 80s, and it basically is a mashup with HIV/AIDS history. Okay. There were so many things they would do on this show that happened in real life that people are like, oh, I didn't know that, and it's like, yeah, no, there it is.
Okay, I will. Okay, you're like the 10th person that has shamed me for not watching this.
I mean, I loved watching it because it actually got early 20. Yeah, so it's very much like Paris is Burning,
which I also haven't seen. So, yeah.
So I mean, yeah, but it was some of those same characters, but now not just in a 90-minute movie, but now in a weekly series. So, but they actually talked about historical moments in the community, which was great.
Well, very cool. This was a lot of fun. I haven't done one of these before. I haven't seen one, but I will tune in to future. And I think you've got a whole bunch of people here that you can call on and harass to be, and then I can harass them.
Sweet. Yes, exactly. So when Keely's like, I don't want to do it, you can be like, you need to do it. You need to do it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your night. And I think the rain may have stopped now. I'm not sure. I don't hear it.
We brought it down.
Oh my God. So that was your birthday present. You got
It really
rain.
was. I love it. And I have to say, having a birthday on August 20th, this is not the first time that's happened where it's like, it pretty much does almost always rain on my birthday. And it's such a wonderful gift. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, no, I mean, especially, breaking like, what is it, like 150 days or something without rain?
This year, this has been horrible. This is no fun.
All right. Well, have a great rest of your night, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Marshall.
Bye. Oh my gosh, wasn't that a hoot? Love learning about historic preservation across the state and some of what they do and what they don't do. And I'm glad we touched on a little bit about Scavenger Lodge. So again, thank you so much, Kathryn, for being here. And so now we're going to talk about Little Arizona. So my goal is really to kind of highlight towns across Arizona that are like 1,000 people and less, because it's like, we all know we have the 5th largest city in the country, but there are so many other places that we should really talk about. And so I was supposed to be working on a book called Little Arizona. I don't know if that's happening. The publisher has been kind of wishy-washy on that with COVID stuff going on, so who knows. And there's also the whole research angle of not being able to get into libraries and research. So that's also one of the reasons why I started doing this, just because it's like, well, let's start talking about some of those small towns. And so today we're going to talk about a place that many of you have likely stopped and had a date shake on your way to San Diego. As you're driving out 10, kind of halfway between Gila Bend and Yuma, is Dateland, which is a great place to stop, refuel, potty break, date shake, date cookies, you name it, they've got it there. Now, the area, it's part of Yuma County, and it was once inhabited by Native American tribes, and was really, Dateland is named for the medjool dates that grow there. It was also home to 2 World War II training camps. And it has a population of about 416 people. So it's just a little tiny burg. Now, it was established in the 20s, originally as a water stop along train lines. Now, even though temperatures can get up to 120, you can go cool off there. I just can't imagine taking that drive with no air conditioning. It would have been abysmal at this time. Your car overheating, having to stop waiting for it to cool down. And would it cool down? No, who knows? But then it's like, but it is home to some in that area. You wind up with like the Sentinel train depot, which are really just in ruins from 1895. And then you wind up with also Camp Hyder, which was 1890s military camp that was also then used in World War II. So you wind up with some really just cool history just by stopping to get a date shake in that area. There's so many other towns that were so close that you can take a quick drive and with your date shake and hit up some other history. So next time I'm out there getting my date shake, I am going to take a drive around and go look for some of these ruins and some of these other structures around. And so we do have our question from Chad again. I know some of you posted again, but I wanted to show this again just to get an idea of what dam do you all think that is? I know several people posted earlier that maybe Gila, but feel free to send me an email if you think you know. Now, always, if you have suggestions, questions, just like Chad did, he's like, hey, what is this? I was like, good thing you sent it to me today. I will throw it on tonight's show. So that way we all get to know about it. If you have comments, suggestions, ideas for stories, love all of that. I mean, that's a lot of how I get my stuff done, is really crowdsourcing, is talking to people, getting those connections that sometimes newspapers wouldn't have made, or even things that might not have been recorded very well, but now suddenly have this whole other life. So if you'd like to, you can reach out to me through Facebook, Instagram, or even email, Hello Hip Historian. And also, if you would like to support this program and keep it going, I would appreciate that. And I'm sure lots of other folks would as well. I mean, I get so many emails from folks talking about how this is the highlight of their week, getting a chance to explore Arizona, kind of forget about what's going on elsewhere, and just enjoy and do things like listen to Kathryn and I drink and banter back and forth, which was a lot of fun. And next week, we have my friend Peggy on. She is going to talk about Arizona urban planning. So I think that's going to be really fun. And again, thank you all so much for being here. Now, we do have sponsorship from AARP, and they say the coronavirus continues to affect us all. We may be apart, but we are not alone. AARP is here in Arizona, providing information that can help you and your family. So please go check them out at aarp.org/AZ. They have all kinds of great resources and some great online programming as well that you can tune into, just like this, that is all for free. I also like to say thank you so much to my friend Cole, who did the intro music, and Chris Allen, who did the video for that, as well as, of course, our cocktail advisor, PJ Vader Barron, for bringing us such an amazing old fashioned, a little herbal honeyed old fashioned. So darn cute. And I love the little honey dipper that you get with it. And we have for outro music, actually, Mr. Ho, who grew up in Sunny Slope and is now actually on the East Coast with his own orchestrotica, as he calls it. And so we'll have him take us out, as well as, it's also found film footage, as well as a little bit from when I did an event over at the Clarendon years ago called Artel. And I did a display using vintage slides, all of Arizona. So that's the intro of that. And then we go into some found film footage from the 50s as well. So thank you all so much, everyone. I will see you right here next week, 7 to 8, as we get a chance to talk about Arizona urban planning. Thank you all so much for being here. And let's all wish Kathryn a happy birthday. And indeed it was. We had a great show and we got rain. What could be better? Thank you all so much and have a great rest of your night.